What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be taking a look at MythForce, which came out this week on Epic. This is a game that's being developed by Beamdog, and it's currently in early access. If you've never heard of Beamdog before, they're mostly responsible for a number of Black Isle remasters, so stuff like Planescape Torment and stuff like that. They are comprised largely of old BioWare developers, and so anyways, the game has landed and it's garnered some interest, so I figure we'll take a look at it here today. So for the uninitiated, people that don't know what MythForce is, this is a action RPG dungeon crawler with roguelite elements that can be played solo, or it can be played as a team with other players. There are a number of characters to choose from that all do different things. Some of them are like support, some of them are tanks, some of them are DPS. The game has hot-swapped gear and kind of procedurally generated items and stuff like that, and it's all wrapped up inside of a 1980s Hanna-Barbera inspired like Masters of the Universe, you know, Thundercats sort of, I guess, atmosphere and also aesthetic. I think that the cell shading looks great. I've played the game for about an hour and a half prior to this. I'd like to take you on through it today for about 25-30 minutes and give you some of my unadulterated thoughts, kind of unfiltered, unedited as we roll through the game. But without further ado, if after watching this you wanted to check out MythForce, I'll have the Epic link for you down below. I know some people don't like Epic and flat out refuse to interact with it. That's perfectly fine. I respect your decision. But ultimately, at the end of the day, my job is to look at games, and so this one happens to be on Epic. On top of that, you can also find a link to my Discord and my Twitch stream. I don't know if I'll end up streaming this one. I feel like most of my ideas are fully formed out after spending an hour and a half with it, but ultimately I could probably be coerced, so, you know, pop on into the Discord and let me know what you think. If you do want to see it for 4 hours straight, maybe we'll be able to do that. Maybe we'll be able to pull in some viewers and kind of play it together. I don't really know. But there's 4 characters to choose from. Let's start it on off. We've got Maggie. She is a mage. I haven't played her yet. We have Victoria. I've played her a bit. And she's kind of the paladin tank character. She's very slow, she's very lumbering, but she definitely brings some serious donk to the field. When I first saw her, I thought she was just polishing like a platinum armored testicle when we came on in here, but no, actually not the case. It's her shield. You've got Hawkins, he's an archer, and you've got Rico, who is the rogue. I've actually found that I like Rico the best, so I think that's who we're going to play as today. As you play the game and die, this is very much a game that expects you to go in, do poorly, die, unlock some stuff, come back in with a buffed up character. You're going to unlock artifacts. You can bring 1 artifact into the dungeon with you. So I'm going to bring Hearty Meal because that's all I have unlocked for right now. There's also infusions. So the artifacts that you unlocked are linked to the characters. So ultimately you won't have them all unlocked unless you play all the characters. Aside from that, you can also get infusions, which is basically kind of like a passive tree that allows you to make your character better in between runs. And then you've got ability upgrades, so as you hit certain thresholds, you're going to get ability points, and they allow you to unlock different variations of abilities that you already have. Each character right now in early access has 3 abilities. I do think they're going to need to ramp that up and give you a choice between like 6 to 7 abilities for each character, each with its own kind of branching paths, in order to allow a little bit of build diversity and replayability to the game. I do think that 3 is much too few abilities as of right now, but I'm hoping that as they develop the game out, they will add more. We're going to confirm this choice on Rico, and let's dive on into the game. The map is procedural, so it's different every single time you play, although it will be using the same tile set for the Beastmaster's Garden or whatever this dungeon is that we're diving on into. Our character is Rico. He's all about mobility. He's all about stabbing and slashing and getting behind people and causing damage, and so I found him to actually be kind of the most flowy and the most enjoyable of all the characters. I do think that the ranged characters have a little bit of an advantage in team play just because they can stay back and not put themselves at risk when it comes to fighting the enemies. But now that we're in the game, the first thing that you're going to notice is that the game's got kind of like a World of Warcraft-y vibe to it. Like, it's definitely got that sort of cel-shaded, cartoony, stylized feeling, and I think that it looks good in coordination with the lighting effects that they've laid out for the game. One thing that I don't like on initial glance is that they've got kind of like this weird papyrus texture overlay in your field of view that they've got on, and there doesn't seem to be any way to disable that. And in fact, were we to take a look right now at the video settings, there's not a whole lot of things you can do at all with the video settings. I would highly recommend that they actually get an advanced video setting thing going on so that you can mess with things like anti-isotropy and, you know, all that kind of stuff. I think what draws people to PC gaming And one thing you have to be mindful of when you're releasing to PC is that we like to tinker with stuff. And in the case of this game, even in a utilitarian sense, if a player doesn't have the graphics card or like the processor to run the game effectively, there's not a whole lot they can do here to ease themselves on into the game and make it playable at a good frame rate. That's bad. That's kind of limiting your audience right there, so I would highly recommend they extend out these settings right here as well. In the controls, everything is fully re-key bindable, so that's a checkbox for me. I like that. However, this right here, the mouse acceleration, I hate mouse acceleration, and I can't tell if it's on or not. So if you don't know what mouse acceleration is, this is largely a thing that's reviled. Basically, your mouse functions by a laser tracking the mouse moving across a matte surface, and that's done in a one-for-one way based on distance traveled. What mouse acceleration does is it throws that out, and instead it makes your mouse move based on the speed of the mouse relative rather than the distance traveled. And so like what it's meant to do is that smaller distances traveled will allow you to actively target better, and larger distances traveled are possible as well. If you flick the mouse really sharply, it'll make you spin around more than if you had just moved it in like a linear fashion. But ultimately what it does is it makes it so that muscle memory is very, very hard to develop. And so anyways, what I'm not able to derive is with the value on 1 right here, I don't know if that means that mouse acceleration is disabled and it's basically moving at like a 1-for-1 ratio across your mouse pad. But like ultimately, not knowing whether or not the 1 right here means that it is effectively neutralized, I'd much prefer to have a box where I could just tick it off and turn it off entirely. But anyways, let's play the game. You walk through these gates, it's going to give you a procedurally generated room that is full of traps, and you're going to fight monsters. I think that actually the collision and the hitboxes feel okay for right now, and I do like the hit feedback, both for the player getting hit and also for you hitting enemies. It also has kind of the delightful system of a lot of the time the weapons that the enemies are carrying, they will actually drop them. So what you can see right there is that he dropped his sword on the ground, and we can actually use it and equip it were we to desire to do so. There are spiky traps and things around. There are flamethrowers and stuff like that you can draw enemies into and wipe them on out. As far as our abilities go, we've got E, which is like a coup de grace. It allows us to basically hit an enemy for a huge amount of damage on cooldown. We've also got pocket sand, so we can ha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha throw some pocket sand at the enemy to blind them. I don't really need to do that for right now, but it is an option that's available. As far as the UI goes, in the bottom left, you can see our portrait. The portrait is animated. In fact, the character will do different things in the portrait based on their current status. So if they're poisoned or on fire, the portrait will be poisoned and it will be on fire, and they'll have a look of just like, oh god, I'm on fire, which I think is a nice little touch. We've got our HP in red, we've got our MP in blue, and we've got our stamina in green. When your stamina fully runs out, you've got a long recharge time where you basically can't do anything. So ultimately, one of the big things you want to avoid in this game against all odds is basically allowing your stamina to get down to 0. It looks like we've got a health potion right here. I will take that. That's going to be helpful for later. I think it restores about 50 health, and that's about a quarter of our health meter, and we will start taking some damage as we get in further to the game and we start dealing with enemies that are a little bit more sophisticated, and they're throwing, ranged attacks at us and magic attacks at us and stuff like that. That right there is a trinket, and it's really good for our character. It gives us +4 to attack, so that's flatly just +4 damage on every swing, which for our character is very, very good, and I would prefer to have it. This room doesn't look like it's a room that's got enemies. Is it like an exposition room? It looks like it's a branching room. What is this over here? I've actually, in an hour and a half, I haven't seen this tile layout, so I don't know what this does. It looks like it's just free treasure, and I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm going to scoop it all up and take it. Money is useful. There's a vendor before the final floor of each level. Oh, we can only carry 1 health potion. Okay, so they don't stack up. I don't see health potions drop that very much. It's actually kind of rare what you just witnessed. Healing is actually kind of limited in this game, and so I guess that's in line with them trying to keep healing limited. It's so limited, in fact, that you can actually trade your level up bonuses for healing yourself. That's a thief right there. We want to take care of him pretty quickly, otherwise he'll steal one of our items and use it on us. All right, you're down. I'm just gonna give you a little bit of the old hackies and slashies. We've leveled up right there.
Thinking shortcut is our best bet, but it's
The voice acting is good in this game. It actually does really remind me of old 1980s Saturday morning cartoons where it's kind of like overacted and underwritten. I think in some cases people would hold that against the game, but in terms of what the game is actively trying to be, in that it's trying to be kind of a homage to old Hanna-Barbera cartoons and whatnot, I think it actually fits the atmosphere of the game. Aside from that, let's go ahead, and we don't really need to use our healing or anything yet, so I'm not going to worry about it. We've got another health potion right there. I would love to be able to bring it with me, but unfortunately, it's just not going to work like that. It says that we've got an enemy around here that we've got to deal with, unless I missed the gate. There it is. Never mind. No, we didn't. Let's head through the gate and see if we can get ourselves into further trouble. There are going to be exposition tiles, that is to develop the narrative and kind of introduce you to the bad guys. There he is right there. Hello. Hi. Nice to meet you. Yeah, and the characters do break the fourth wall and whatnot as you're playing the game. Like, they seem to be somewhat aware of the fact that they are in a cartoon, and so they will occasionally break the fourth wall and kind of joke around. You'll find that the rogue tends to be the biggest purveyor of that. I have no idea who... Oh my god, what are you? You're horrifying. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna give you an old backstab right there. She teleported away. I'm gonna have to clear myself out of this corner. We're gonna take a lot of damage. Looks like she's buffing up the enemies that we're fighting right now. I'm going to try and stay. Let's get some pocket sand out. It didn't blind her, which is actually kind of a bummer. It looks like her buff makes it so that they don't stagger when they're getting hit. I'm going to parry right there, and it looks like we're also poisoned. So rough room. Real rough room. Let me pop this health potion in case we find another one. That'll get our health back up on decent standards right there. I don't know if I can block arrows with a knife. I know you can block the arrows if you're playing as the paladin and you've got the shield up, but I don't know if it's going to let us do that with just kind of an offhand dagger. Drop that guy real fast. Did he drop his bow? Did anybody drop anything over here? No. In fact, it looks like we got skunked on the loot, so that's a little bit of a downer. We did get some money and stuff right there, so I'll take that. Got another archer right there. We'll dodge his arrow. I do think that the dodge feels really, really unsatisfying. I think they need to speed up the dodge by about 100%. Make it a little bit faster. It doesn't feel like you're dodging. I think if they made it about 100% faster, like they doubled the speed on it, and then on top of that, they added like some swooshy lines and maybe like a shoo every time you do it for the sound effect, I think it would be a much more satisfying mechanic. But as of right now, you may not notice when I'm actively dodging because that's what the dodge looks like right there. It's not really much of a dodge as it stands. We have a worthless bow over here. I am going to take that. We'll put it in our 3 slot real quick. Let's go ahead and loot through some of these coffers and see if we can get anything good. We do have a minimalistic bow right there. It's worse than the one that we just picked up. I have another coffer over here. I'm not going to waste my time breaking all the pottery. I'm going to kind of resist the urge to go full Zelda on this one. We've got a giant's tooth right there. An option that I would like to find is a lot of the time you just kind of leave stuff laying on the ground in single player and you don't really get to use it. Obviously, that's because you're supposed to be sharing with your teammates when you're playing in multiplayer. But for single player, I would like to see an option where you can break gear right here on the spot and just convert it into gold real fast. Just so you don't leave stuff laying around all over the place. I think that would be a nice feature, especially since gold seems to be kind of limited once you get like to the end game vendors. Typically stuff costs about 5,000, give or take about 5,000, and so, you know, the items are pretty expensive, and a little bit of extra gold income to kind of augment you when you're playing alone, I think would help out a little bit with the difficulty. Okay, apparently that hit me. Alright, don't really love that. If you jump into water, it does not get the flames off of you. That's the first thing I tried when I was playing this game, is I wanted to see if there was any environmental interactions. So, like, if I'm on fire, if I jump into water, does it help? If I'm being kind of shocked with lightning and I jump into water, does it make it worse? Those are little details that I think really make a game pop and make it better. And I would love to see things like if you've got poison gas on an enemy, if they walk into a fire trap, they get lit on fire. Things like that would bring me a lot of enjoyment. It looks like they're just satisfied to sit over there and get burnt up. I'm going to stab him to death real fast. This guy right here, let's go ahead and rogue him real quick. There we go. We took him out. That guy's a swing and a miss. He's got to get his eyes checked. Unfortunately, he doesn't have eyes checked, so I think that's going to make the whole visit go really, really poorly at the optometrist. We have a much nicer sword right there, but I'm going to wait until we deal with all these enemies before I start looting. I think we're okay. Let me go ahead and swap this sword out. It looks like it costs a lot less stamina to use. So honestly, given how precious stamina in this game, I'm happy with that. I think we can only put a dagger in our offhand, as far as I know, and so I think we gotta wait to swap that out. Drop him real quick. Do we have any daggers laying around? No, just a bunch of bent swords. Okay. You know, it's okay to have a bent sword. Everybody's got a different sword. You know, some fly straight as an arrow, some are a little bit bent. Never get too self-conscious about the state of your sword. As long as the edge is sharp and it gets the job done, it's all in how you use it, baby. Let's go ahead and jump on into this sarcophagus over here, too. Looks like we just got money out of that one. I don't see any other things around. Occasionally, there will be kind of like little hidden or secretive areas that you can find if you look around the actual tile itself. So there is loot that you can miss here. Although breakable walls and things are not something that I've seen so far, but I would recommend that they add stuff like that too. Indeed, adding little puzzle tiles and whatnot where you can move blocks around and like solve a puzzle to open a secret wall to get a different path that has a variation in enemies. I think that'd be a good idea. We have a binary fire amulet. You are resistant to fire damage, but you are vulnerable to ice damage. I'll take it. Let's go ahead and slot in our level up. So your level up basically is split up into two portions. You get to increase a flat attribute, so like your HP, your MP, your stamina, your physical attack, and then the second choice is going to allow you to pick an actual perk that changes the way the game functions. So you might like heal whenever you kill an enemy, or you might regenerate stamina faster so long as you're beneath 50%, stuff like that. I'm going to increase my HP and my physical defense. And then for this, we can get health regeneration up to 30% health. We can get combat veteran over here, which allows us to get +1 health for every 5 enemies we kill. Or we can flatly just make ourselves better with bows. I'm going to get combat veteran. That sounds good. Let's take combat veteran. Oh, we've got 2 level ups. I'll take melee attack then. And then the next perk, I will take increase my... melee attack speed and stamina regen sounds great, actually. I'll take that. And the perks that you get are sorted into rarity, and they are randomized, which means, like, some runs you're not going to get perks that are quite as good as other runs. It's just sort of like hit or miss. Like, some runs you get really good rare perks. Other runs you end up with crappy gray perks the entire time, and there's not really a whole lot you can do to salve that wound. All right, there's our next dungeon tile. Let's get after it. Let's go. Hey, we get crits from behind, so that works out great for me. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of take him out instantly if I can. Those mushroom guys can kind of be a problem. I have seen some variation in the opening mobs. Like, so there are 4 or 5 mobs that can appear in the starter dungeon right here. It's not a lot, but it's enough, and they can come with different loadouts as well. You've got the standard fare. You know, you've got your oh, that's not great. Surprise! There we go. I'm just going to blind him for a second while I wait for my stamina to come back, and then we'll just cleave our way through him. Looks good. Anything inside this chest over here? We have enduring bracers. They give us some physical defense. I'll take it. Over here, it looks like we've just got some money cheddar cash stacks. Let me check these guys over here, and it looks like something dropped right here, too. We've got a heavy sword, so it does more damage, but it costs more stamina. It is a pretty big damage increase. Maybe we'll give it a try. I don't really see the difference in stamina usage right there, so, like, I feel like it's going to be okay. We've got a health potion right there. I'll take that, and in fact, I'm going to drink it right now. And then we've got +4 melee attack right there, which I feel like is better than the +4 ranged attack that we had equipped prior. We've got a magic book right there. It's a book of fire. We could slot that into our 4 slot. All of the magic books basically have a couple different settings. So this one right here, it's got a light attack that shoots fireballs all over the place, and if you charge it up, you can do like a big AoE attack like that right there with a grenade. So far, I've seen an ice book and I've seen a fire book. And so those are the 2 that I've seen. I don't know if there's more other than that. But they are nice if you need a little bit of an infusion of kind of like range damage to get you going. Those guys use magic to shrink themselves, which makes them like a huge pain in the ass to hit. There we go. He's down. I'll probably go E-key on you just to get a little bit of damage off. There's some damage right there. We've got an archer over here. Let's go ahead and take care of him real fast. He's now down. And then we'll try to sprint across. Well, maybe we won't sprint. Maybe we'll do it slowly. Let's give you a little pocket sand. AoE everybody a little bit. I want the archers gone. If I bet you anything, if I looked at a regression of the amount of damage that I take, it would be almost entirely from ranged characters who can be kind of a headache. I've been weakened right now. That's not great. I'm going to take a little bit of a thumping. Running out of stamina is a really, really bad thing in this game. So it recharges pretty slowly if you end up running out. And you've just got to accept that if you mismanage your stamina like I just did... Oof, we got weakened too? Okay. You just got to accept that if you mismanage your stamina, you're going to take a real, real bad thumping. You're just going to kind of have to sit there and get smoked. because the enemies are equally as fast as you are. Like, they run just as fast as you do. The only way to really, like, outpace them is to basically use your sprint. And while you're recharging the stamina, if you bottom it out, you cannot block, like, you cannot dodge, you cannot sprint, and so, like, you just sit there just like, ah, and you just kind of get pummeled. You kind of get buried. We lost a lot of HP right there. Hopefully we can bounce back from it. Nothing on the ground that really looks too interesting to me, like nothing that I want to fold into the build that we currently have running for us. So I think I'm going to leave it all behind. I may regret that later, I don't know, but it's the best I could do, okay? Alright, so health potions are what we need. Hopefully we can find some in here.
Only fools trespass on my domain.
Oh yeah?
And I do not grant intrusion.
How'd you like an arrow to the neck, bro?
You may take pride that you have come so far.
Arrow to the neck was shockingly ineffective right there, so I couldn't kind of like cut this situation off at the throat and take him out. Bit of a bummer. Was hoping we could just kill the big bad right now. We've got to survive an enemy horde for 2 minutes. I find the best way to do this is just to kite like a madman and pretend like they're not all around you. That's what I've been doing for this whenever I get to it. We'll stab that guy right there. Maybe pocket sand some dudes. Looks like those guys are about to go. I would like to get the wizard down if I can. Wizard's down. Yeah, let's teleport on this wizard right here and get him too. Basically, I'd prefer to keep all the range guys just up and out of my booty crack for right now. Let me sprint around this way and see if maybe, yeah, we've got like a little opening right there, but I'm getting chewed on a bit. I got no abilities coming back up right now, which is really becoming problematic. They're ducking all my sword swings, so I utterly missed my opening right there with the pocket sand, unfortunately. Yeah, we can stab you in the gutties real fast. I'm just going to kind of stay away from him. Our health is not great right now. Get you taken care of. Probably jump back to avoid that debuff.
Little help. Feeling my best.
Yeah. This room is not going great for me. And we've got more wizards throwing stuff at me as well. Oh, right to the face with the fireball. I think this is where we die. I don't think the fire's... Oh, it did fall off. Nice. Sir, can you please die? Just like a little bit.
Here goes nothing.
There we go. Maybe I'll play around with some fire magic here just to keep them back up and off me. You really gotta stop. You gotta quit it. Got you. Little level up right there.
Better all the time.
Woof. Barely. Oh, there's more of them. Oh no, dude. I thought we were done. I thought we were finished. The timers ran out. Alright, they're down. Need stamina back. I have 1 HP that we're surviving on right now, which is really suboptimal. I'd rather not. The good news is if we die, one of the big parts of these videos is me showing off how the meta progression works, and I do think that that's important to some people, and so I was planning on suiciding anyways once we got to a certain point in the game. Just so you could see how, like, the unlocks work. It is a little bit grindy. You don't unlock a lot. Like, I think my farthest run was pretty far into the second dungeon before I killed myself just to see, like, what I would unlock. And I think I unlocked, like, maybe 1 level's worth of stuff. And so the game definitely is expecting to space out the content a little bit on you. I'm going to heal 50 HP right here because none of these... I mean, more stamina would be nice. But the heal kind of seems like the no-brainer for right now. I think when you exit exhaustion, your stamina regen increases by 50%. Yeah, let's do that. That sounds good. Anything around that could maybe help me out with this adventure that's going ever so terribly? I mean, it looks like there's something for sale over here. 5,000? Yeah, I'll take it. What did that do? Is it a health potion? It is indeed a super awesome health potion, so I'll take it. You can't sell your items right here. That's not an option that's available, and we don't have enough money to pick up this epic vampiric dagger right here, which heals us on kill, which would be oh so good. So I guess we'll just continue on down into the second floor. But yeah, so far my thoughts about the game are reasonably positive. For a first early access pass, I think it's okay. Like, I would like some more graphics options and the ability to get rid of the weird papyrus overlay. When you get down to the second floor, I would like to see the tile set vary a little bit and get a little bit more corrupted and a little bit more deadly dealing. I do think that they've got the basics in place, though, to make the game feel reasonably decent. Like, I do like the hit feedback, and I do think that the melee combat feels visceral and nice. Like, I haven't found myself so far being like, ew, that hit felt terrible when I landed it on the enemy. And I think that's a very, very good thing, because ultimately, if you're going to make a game that's all about combat, the combat should feel pretty satisfying. And in my opinion, it does. That's okay. You can put a weakness spell on me. I don't mind. I'll walk it off for a little bit. Yeah, I'll probably just stab you to death with an ability real quick. We'll block you. Get on in there. Take care of business. Got to get some stam back real quick. Otherwise, I think we're going to have a bad time. Probably dodge out of the way of that as well. Don't really have a whole lot left to play around with right now in terms of abilities. But, you know, we'll play with it. I think I'm going to loot these sarcophagi. I think that other guy ran off to, like, heal or something. I don't know what he's doing. He vanishes, and then he shows up at a different point. And honestly, I don't feel like chasing him down. So I'm just going to get busy looting for the moment. There he is. There you are, little buddy. I knew you were over here somewhere. What else you got for me? You're on fire. That's cool. You can be on fire. A little bit of spellbook right there. Looking pretty solid. Little bit of spellbook right there. Don't really care about the spellbooks. Not planning on being much of a spellcaster. I think I'm very much aligned in the realm of stabbing things until they bleed profusely. That guy's just like stargazing right there, just hanging out on this side navel gazing for some reason. I don't know. My navel's not that interesting. Maybe other people are imbued with far more interesting navels. Don't know. Well, at this point, I kind of feel like maybe I should just like suicide my character real quick. And then what we'll do is we'll show you how the progression system works. Yeah, sure. Fall into the pit for 999,000 damage. Absolutely. It's okay, but I mean, I think I'm probably going to die in this room. Yeah, I was going to say independently. This is a tough... That was a tough tile, dude. That was a nasty room. Well, we accomplished... I did it on purpose. I'll never admit anything else. That was totally on purpose. We ranked up, and so we got 2 infusions, an ability point, and his first artifact. So the artifacts can be used on any character. Basically, we can go on in right now, and he unlocked ill-gotten gains. You start with $10,000. That's actually pretty good, assuming you can survive to the first ending of the floor. And then he's got some upgrades here. We can get more stamina regen, more melee attack. That just seems super... Actually, I'll go for the max stamina. So there you go. There's the progressive aspects of the game. Let me give you my summarized thoughts about MythForce, and we'll kind of like close this thing out, shall we? So we'll start out with the good stuff here with MythForce. I think that the animation and Saturday morning cartoon cel-shaded vibe that they've gone with is solid. It gets the idea across, and if you grew up with campy cartoons in the 80s, you'll definitely recognize the source material being manifest inside this game. Impact and sound on weapons, blocks, parries, general combat. It's responsive and visceral. The voice acting delivers. It's campy. It's got that exact same cartoon vibe as well. Like I said, overacted, underwritten. The characters seem pretty well diversified as far as their abilities and personalities go. I do think the abilities are a little bit limited, but they do play differently, and they all seem to have differentiating personalities so that you can tell them apart. Progression seems focused and character-specific, and I really like that all the relics that you unlock are equipable on all characters regardless of who they unlocked for. That's a nice little boost to replayability right there. The game is animated well. The tile sets look good, although on rare occasions I was able to find like some seams in between textures, especially on the hallways that transition in between rooms. As far as changes that I'd like to see implemented as the early access moves along, I think I pointed out most of them on the fly. But to go over them one more time, I'd like to see a more expansive graphical options menu. I'd like to see the ability to disable the CRT effect that's laid over the top of the action, the ability to disable camera shake, stuff like that, and also a toggle for mouse acceleration, I think would all be great things to add. I think the characters are definitely going to need to have about twice as many abilities to select from, so like you pick 2 and then like an ultimate basically, and then that would keep things a little bit fresher, and it would also have the additive benefit of increasing replayability since that's what the game is going after. Because like those abilities that they add on in to expand, it would add more upgrades as well. Like each of those new abilities would be upgradable just like the previous ones. And so that's more reasons to keep playing and diving on through the game. I do think that more weapon textures and models never hurts, as like if you compare this game to like let's say Slasher's Keep, which is a focused single-player dungeon crawler, I think if you compare the amount of models that are available for weapons and things, the game is going to come up wanting in that arena. The tile sets I think could use a little bit of love, a little bit more variation in between floors. I'm on the edge with enemy variety so far. Like it more never hurts, but the enemies that they do have are varied enough in the current build that it's okay for me. It's not really something that I would complain about. I think there's little changes they could make to the solo experience, like breaking down useless gear for like 50 coins per rarity, that would give a little extra oomph to unassisted players that like prefer to go solo. But like ultimately I do get the feeling that this is definitely a game that's meant to be played with friends that are taking up like solid roles in the group and basically taking call outs and tanking and stuff like that. So if like the solo side doesn't get those adjustments, I'm not gonna fall to the floor in pieces and like cry over it. My name is Splattercat. This is MythForce. It released this week to Epic. You can check it out down below. Other than that, I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so you don't have to. Today it was MythForce. Tomorrow it'll probably be something else. Thank you for stopping on in, and that's about all I've got for you. Bye, everybody.